So I just made a video on Herta, but I yapped a little too long and I don't like making my videos too stretched, right? I don't exactly make any money off this right now. So because of that, I have no intentions of making my videos 8 minutes or higher on purpose, right? Sometimes they just are that long naturally. That's why there's no editing. It's not like I do it on purpose. However, I wanted to talk about V3 Herta today. Now, some of you may have seen it, some of you may have not. However, V3 Herta received some major changes, making her significantly stronger than even I could have ever anticipated, right? So let me go over a few of the changes that she received in the V3, right? First, we have 50% ice damage on her enhanced skill, right? Extremely strong, really nice. We all know this. However, 16% extra attack buff, right? That's a lot better, right? That's a good amount of extra damage. And a 100% uptime instead of 67% before. So an uptime increase on the 16% extra attack buff, which is really nice. However, this is where we get into the biggest part of the V3. Her technique has been reworked to apply 25 stacks on an elite/boss every wave instead of 4 to all units. And apparently the previous iteration was bugged to begin with, right? So apparently there was an issue and her stack thingy was bugged in the V2. However, now in the V3 it's been changed to be better anyways. So now instead of 4 stacks on a bunch of different enemies on field, she'll apply 25 stacks onto one single target on field, which is incredibly powerful and a lot better, right? This was an issue she kind of had because of all the stacks being split up. She was a lot more strong in like pure fiction or against 4 or 5 mobs on field, but against a couple mobs or even one, she'd obviously do significantly less damage than she should be doing, right? Even though she's a pure fiction targeted unit, Erudition has been needing a really strong main DPS for quite a while now, and we finally have that in Herta. So they reworked it so that she can now be able to do a lot more damage on a smaller amount of mobs than she ever was able to before, right? Next, increase stack generation from having other Erudition units on your team from 1 to 3, right? This is pretty huge. So an entire 2 stack increase over the V2 for having another Erudition unit on your team comp. This means that Erudition units, or at least having a second Erudition unit, is a lot more of a big deal on her comp than it was even in the V2. So having like small Herta or having what's it called, Jade, is a lot more of a big deal than it was in the previous versions. And next, we have a 12% damage buff on her signature light cone, and the eidolons as well got buffed. E1 now has the additional benefit of retaining stacks after they've already been used, and E2 gives action advanced for every enhanced skill, and if the target has 42 stacks, 25% action advance, right? So overall across the board, she received practically 0 nerfs and received like 6 or 7 buffs, right? And most of these buffs not only make her stronger in pure fiction, but make her significantly stronger in the endgame modes such as MOC and Apoc Shadow. So I've already delved into seeing a few leaked gameplays for you guys so that I can get like a really good comparison of how strong she is exactly, right? This is a pure fiction unit, probably in a pure fiction comp, so you'd usually imagine that they aren't able to compete in MOC and APOC for being a top tier team. However, you'd be wrong, right? I am going to go to the parlor car currently, the Astral Express, and I'll show you guys the current side of the MOC 12. Everybody knows it. It favors Fei Xiao quite a bit. Wind weak, I believe it's Svarog, right? Yeah, right here. Svarog, he's like fire, wind, and lightning weak. Yeah, exactly. And this is the side that I saw one of the tests on. Now this was really nice, right? Because being able to see a V3 Herta on a side with no element and not really many buffs or turbulence to favor her, that's when you really see the true value of a character. Now I think most people can agree a 3-cost Fei Xiao team can 0-cycle this first side, right? It just all depends on your relic investment and being able to optimize like the speed tuning and all that stuff, right? However, would you believe me if I told you this pure fiction Herta team at 3 cost with no Ling Sha and no Jade was able to 0-cycle this exact same side? No ice weakness. Something you guys have to keep in mind is that even if you 0-cycle this side on Fei Xiao, there's only 2 mobs on the second wave, and every single mob in here is wind weak. So Fei Xiao has a huge advantage. However, an off-element Herta team was able to 3-cost 0-cycle this without absurd relic quality, right? The only absurd relic quality I saw in that entire video was, I believe, who was it? It was Puppet Herta. I believe she had like 154 speed with still really good crit stats, which can be very hard to obtain for a lot of people. However, the Herta V3, the normal Herta, the DPS, she didn't have outstanding relics. Neither did the Robin. Those two are the main dealers here, and they just didn't have that crazy of relics at all. So to obtain a 3-cost off element 0-cycle against 2 mobs when you're a pure fiction unit targeted for pure fiction is absolutely bonkers, right? Like, that is bonkers. By the way, if you're wondering, it was an E0 S0 Herta and a E1 S0 Robin, right? So in total, it's 3 cost. I will say they were using a battle pass Lycone on the Herta, so you can count that as like, it was an S5 battle pass Lycone, by the way, so you can count that as like 1 extra cost for the Lycone. However, still a 4-cost team targeted towards pure fiction against 2 mobs and off element being able to 0-cycle is extremely impressive, right? I don't think anyone can argue that. There's a lot of top tier characters currently who probably cannot 0-cycle Svarog, even though they're targeted towards mostly MOC. While this pure fiction unit at 4 cost arguably is 0-cycling off element and not in their specific targeted scenario. So I don't want to hold you guys up any longer. I'm sure you guys understand everything I've said so far. She is an incredibly good pull. If you were already planning on going for her, I'd 100% suggest going for her right now, right? 100%, don't even give up. I'd argue she's probably going to be the strongest character now when she releases in terms of overall value, right? Because she's exceptional in pure fiction, exceptional in memory of chaos, and exceptional in apocalyptic shadow, right? Not every character is like this. For example, Firefly. Firefly is exceptional in MOC and really good in apocalyptic shadow. However, in pure fiction, she's obviously not like a top 5 pick, right? Acheron, similar. Acheron isn't the best for apocalyptic shadow, and she isn't the best for pure fiction, but she's really good in memory of chaos, right? Almost always a character has one weak link where they aren't in the top 5 teams for that endgame mode. However, Herta is different. I am extremely confident that when she releases, she will be a top 5 DPS for every single endgame mode in this game, if they don't change her too much after her V3, right? Something you guys have to keep in mind, they can change her in V4 and V5. However, if she retains her current strength that she has in the V3 right now, she will be the #1 DPS in the game simply because of how universal she is, right? Huge for free-to-plays. She isn't super high relic investment. You only need super high relic investment if you're going for those 0 cycles, right? So aside from that, she should be able to clear everything just fine with average relic investment, and she isn't super reliant on teammates like, let's say, a Fei Xiao or another team is, right? Like Firefly with Ruan Mei or Harmony Trailblazer, or Fei Xiao with Robin, right? You won't see that huge damage fall off if you replace Robin with like some other 5-star Harmony, right? It will be noticeable. You will notice you're doing worse, but it just won't be as significant and it won't matter as much, which is huge for a lot of free-to-plays or people who don't want to switch one Harmony to another, right? I know there's a lot of people currently. The Fei Xiao team is using Robin, right? So it's like, oh, do I put Robin on my Herta team or do I put Robin on my Fei Xiao team? Now you don't really have to choose, right? Even though Robin is probably a best in slot Harmony for Herta, she is by no means necessary and she'll still perform very well without her. So that's all I have to say. I hope all of you have a good day. Hope all of you have a good night. Peace.